Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you decided to join me, and let's discover a little bit more today about how to maximize these solar flares because I've got some really good stuff to share with you, and you get to see how my intelligences work. And I'm going to bring something interesting in that I haven't really done before. So hang in there and let's start. So we've been primarily focusing on the solar flares because they're an invisible energy that we don't understand, we can't see, right? It's unknown. And it happens to be something I'm really good at is working out the unknown and putting it into layman's terms, right? Like this is what it might be, this is what it is, right? So every week we have flares, and last week, or we did this series, or we did this video on Sunday, and then Monday we had two X class flares, like boom, boom, and one of them came at what 5:08 a.m. Monday morning, and it was an X1.55. It was a big one because when X's come, as we know, they really do something to our energy. The one that came after that around what 12:45, 12:48 on Monday was an almost X, right? It was an M9.56. And which meant that it was up there and it was still reverberating. And it was from a sunspot that was moving away from the earth. So we were spared a little bit bigger X than could have been. And then since then, it's been a pretty mild week. We got this huge jolt on Monday, and then we've been integrating and recalibrating and resettling with these constant like low C, high C, mid C, high C, low C, mid C, high C, low M, mid M, low M, mid M, and it's just been going back and forth. So it's tap, 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 a little bit of tower moments, tap, 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 a little bit of tower moments. And what I noticed is that these aren't going away. They're fairly common. In fact, I'm noticing that Pam Youngins used to list every single solar flare out, and now she's going like, "We had about a dozen of the C class, right? We've talked about this," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is where we're at. We're normalizing these fluctuating energies as they're coming in." And, in this video series, we've covered the symptoms, we've covered how to do self care. We're familiar with the levels of C and M and X and what does it mean to you. And I've used tarot to do all of that. So today I want to go into a new area because it's a discovery about embodiment that I've been playing with since Friday. So Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Saturday, and I'm like, "Oh man, am I going to talk about this on Sunday?" I am. I'm going to talk about this with you. Okay, so here we go. When we embody, it comes primarily from our hips and our sacral, right? From our lower core. So we're going to go to that lower core and we're going to play with it. And I'm going to bring in the tree of life, the Cabala, right? So, I've studied the Cabala with Elizabeth Shermer out of Seattle at the Alchemy Mystery School for a year. I've got a notebook. It's way over there. It's about this thick. And so I'm quite proficient in the ways that the Kabbalah, that the tree of life work, right? And I'm part of what I do in my coaching is I put it on the body all the time. So I'm going to show you a couple of things and I want you to sort of stick with me. This is where my little nerd comes out for about less than 2 minutes. Okay. So this is what the tree of life looks like. This is what the Kabbalah looks like. It's 10 sephras, and this is the design of them, right? Now, what Ted Andrews does is he puts them on the body. So he puts these 10 sephras on the body, and you'll notice that there's a sephra on the right hip, there's a sephra on the left hip, and there's a sephra in the sacral, and then here we go down to Malkuth or earth, right? These sephras are divided into triads. So here's the same 10, but this is the lower triad. So it's hip, hip, sacral. This is the triad that we're going to work on today to stabilize. And what I've discovered about it is quite profound. This is another way to look at it. And then what Beth Shermer did was she put the pathways on, and this is the tarot tower card. So between the left hip and the right hip, or the right hip and the left hip, excuse me, and when these are out of balance, this is what is instigated by the tower card. So just like do that. Now, before I go on to explain that, this is Ted Andrews' book. It's really easy to understand, the Cabala. And then I spent a good portion of the explaining tools for the indigos in the Indigo Assignment. This is the book I wrote in 21. And if you haven't read it, by all means, it's got a lot of information in it that you could probably use. Okay, so if that's the tree, and the tree is on our bodies, right? And the Sephiras are in three triads, and we're working on that lower triad. Let's really talk about the fact that the left hip, right, which is called Netzach, is our emotions. It's where how we process the energy that comes into our field. It comes through that Sephira. That is the way that we understand emotions, and emotions are energy in motion. The right hip is called Hod, and it is reason. It's where our intellect resides. It's where Mercury feeds. All of our constructs, our intellectual constructs, come in through our right hip, and then they bounce with our emotions. It's like, did you feel that? Yeah, this is what I think it is. And so the right hip and the left hip are working on stabilizing us at all times, right? And then we go down to the sacral, which is just above the root chakra, or just above the root chakra. It is where our digestion lies. So you can even put your hands on your hips and go like between my hips and down to the pelvic floor. Really, there is this. It's our digestion. It's our reproductive systems, male or female. It's where our genetics lie. It's how we pass our ancestral lineage from one generation to the other. So this is the power center in our body. This is what our secret identified, what do we want to call it? Like our social security code, right? This is our identity. It comes into our sacral. Okay, so when our sacral is that valuable, what we want to do is we want to recognize that these solar flares are activating our ancestral lineage. They're activating our DNA. They're bringing us forward into a new level of living. So this sacral ends up being a really sacred spot that we want to protect. So this is what I discovered on Friday. So when I pull my belly in, like they talk about in yoga all the time, pull your belly back to your spine. Not suck it in and hold it forever, but pull it back and find a resting spot where you can hold that belly back against pulled in. It's almost like you want to pull your belly in, even with your hips, if not just a tad bit behind, right? And when we hold that triad in our body is now completely open, right? So let's see, how would we do that? It's as if this triad here starts to become completely balanced. So we stay in our power center, and our lower core is engaged. So try that. Just pull your belly back in, male or female, doesn't matter. Pull your belly in, and find your sit bones if you're sitting down, or if you're standing up, find the balance between the two and go like, wow, when I pull that belly in just a little bit and I support the hips, and the hips support the sacral, I don't have lower back pain. I don't have as much neck or shoulder pain. And I'm like, there's something to this. Because when we hold this fundamental part of our body in balance, what happens is we naturally inhabit our full body just by pulling our belly in just a little bit. It's like we're consciously now completely in our body. Every part of us is now wide awake. I was like, whoa, this is so amazing, right? We have solid legs. It's like when you pull your belly in, you can't help but sit more solid in the chair. You can't help but find your legs and your knees and your thighs and your knees and your ankles and your feet, and if you're standing, your feet naturally sort of spread out a little bit to provide a base that keep those hips very set and strong, right? um, when we have solid legs, we ground, right? And you notice that when you pull your belly in, it's almost as if your spine goes a little straighter and your shoulders go back, so we alleviate the neck and shoulder pain, right? then we become conscious of how all of this affects us. So what happens is those pains, those centers where we're out of balance, where there's old, old patterns of family slouching, trying to think of examples. Being afraid, having fear coming into our shoulders, right? When we feel these flares hitting this over and over again, if we pull our bellies in and we stabilize our sacral, we hold that center and we hold it open, then what happens is that we embody, and those pain centers in the rest of our body become less loud, they become less um, irritating. And so, what we learn to do is hold our body in this resting spot. And anytime that you're like, where's my belly? Bring my belly back. Because what we want to do is we want to embody so that we can then alleviate the muscle and the nerve pain. So, when we embody, we also open up for the flares to give us information that we're here to learn. Does this make sense? I mean, it's really, believe me, I'm not really good at the physical structure, or I don't have any kind of a degree in nervous systems, or the physical biology. What I know is what I experiment with and what the results are, and then I throw them out there and go, "What do you think? Do you think this will work? Is this something we could try?" Right? Because with this previous information that we've been going through, when we get a C class, we're getting a nudge, nudge, nudge. Like, are you in balance? Are you in balance? And if we pull our bellies in, we're in balance. We have an M class, which is one of these tower moments, right? Where everything starts to come and explode. Then it's about get yourself in balance. And I love the way that Osho really, focuses on the sacral and how the whole system lights up and the whole body is in balance, right? And so that when we have an X class, we can actually enjoy the influx of the energy and bring it in. So what we're doing is we're collaborating with the solar flares, we're partnering with them, we're making them valuable to us, and we're holding our body in a position that allows that work to come in. It's profound, and it's not really a well-known thought out there. So, call me crazy, call me inventive, call me whatever. But this is what I'm finding out is that I've struggled with lower back pain. I've struggled with shoulder and neck pain for years. And when I learned to hold that lower core and really honor the sacral, that pain immediately disappears. So I thought I would pass that on to you. So I have 5 tips for you today, right? So, number 1, pay attention to your belly. I have this wonderful little bowl here, right? And you can see when I can hold it so that the rim is exactly even, right? So when we let our belly fall forward, right? When we let our belly just fall into our back arches, our shoulders are trying to adjust, our neck is trying to keep us from falling forward. We're in a constant state of an arched back and we're out of balance. Hmm. So go back, pull your belly in. Now, hunch your shoulders. I'm in fear. I don't know what to expect. We almost lean back, like if there's something in the past I could go find that will make me feel better, or I can't let go of these stories in the past. Then we notice that our lower back aches, our shoulders ache. We start to get a hump on our back, our neck, our eyes, every part of us starts to adjust to being afraid or being protective of what's coming at us, right? So that's what happens when we tip back. What I also like is that when we tip over to the emotional side, to our left side, we get lost in all of the emotions and all of the overwhelm and and overflow, and we aren't making a lot of sense. So we bring it back into balance. And so then when we go over to the mind and we're spending all the time gathering, intellectualizing, trying to make sense of things, and we're ignoring the emotions over here. So if we can look at the hips and the sacral as a bowl, when we pull our belly in, we're protecting that bowl, and this is our most valuable, what do we want to call it? Most valuable contribution to being human is that we have this sacral that holds all of the lineage of who we were and what we've been over the years. It's pretty amazing, right? So this bowl is a really good example. Am I tipped forward, backwards, side to side? So first tip is to use a bowl image to sort of understand, how am I holding balance, and am I tipping in one way or the other? I didn't put any water in there because it's got paper all over my desk, right? Number two, it's an easy adjustment to make that will take some time and some patience and some gentleness, which is, where's my belly? How do I catch it and adjust? So, what I noticed is that I have to find and create a really beautiful resting spot where my stomach is in. Similar to when I'm standing, I'm not thinking, am I falling forward? Am I falling backwards? Or am I just simply standing? What we want to do is learn that our belly in is as natural as the way our lungs work, the way our heart beats, the way we stand, the way we talk. It just means that we have to train our bodies to go like, is my belly in and is my sacral solid? Am I fully in my body at this time? So catch it, adjust, and be really, really gentle. Yep. Okay. Back in line. Really, it's all it is. Just back in line. And then thank you. Wow. You're right there. I can feel you. And so what we do is we both catch it and we validate. This is where my belly is. This is where I bring it back. This is what I did. Oh, this is where I bring it back. So it's hips, hip, sacral. What do they? A lot of people call it the cauldron, the sacred bowl, right? Is it in balance? Adjust, catch it, and validate it. So number three, when you feel body pain during a flare period, stand up or sit up straight, or even if you're in some sort of convalescent where you have to actually lay down, just pull your belly in and align it, and then notice what's happening with my nerves, what's happening with my shoulder pain, my neck pain, my back pain. And when we pull it in and align, the areas that are under duress have a little bit of breathing room, right? So catch it when you're in pain, and then go, wow, am I in pain because my belly's not in, because my sacral is not being protected, or is it something else? And then that gives us a whole nother area to start to explore. But let's do this first and find out if it has an impact on these old centers in our body where we've carried overwhelm, where we've carried pain, where we've carried hurts, right? Um, Number four, when there's a noticeable flare energy, when you catch it, use your imagination and sort of like almost open those sacral doors and go like, so what is it that we're going to do? So whether it's a high C, whether it's a high M, whether it's an X flare, it's almost like we take our hips and we just sort of open the sacral and we go like, talk to me. Tell me what we're here to do. Is there anything from here that I need to upgrade to do? Because then you're collaborating and you're partnering with the energy that's coming, and there's an exchange and there's value. So I like to do that when there's a big flare, is that I sort of go like, so what do you want me to know right now? And I partner with it. So that's number four, partner with the flare. And number five, always, always is going to be about being compassionate with yourself, because you're creating an alignment and a receptivity that is is about something that's invisible. So you're starting to sort of create a way to keep working with this phenomenal holder, this container of all of your wisdom, of all of your DNA, of all of your skill sets. And when we bring it into balance, we can alleviate so many of the symptoms of the flare. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I've been experiencing over the weekend. And I would love to hear from you if this works, and where you're tweaking it and what you're doing to make it it work for you, because we're stretching, we're growing, we're trying to define what this unknown is. And I'm a resource for that. I'm not the only resource. You can also help me with your comments. And if you notice, I'm talking a lot through the comments with each of you to find out, to thank you, to say yes, or how about this, or how about that. And we're starting a community that is where there's a lot of beauty and a lot of harmony in understanding these flares. So thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing and following, and pass this along if it's valuable, and play with this belly in sacral open and strong, and see what happens. I will see you next week. Take care.